Thank you, Zach. Well, quality sleep is essential for good health. America's adults average 6.9 hours of sleep each night, slightly less than the recommended 8 hours.
Do you get 8 hours every night?
No.
I don't either. Not even close. Well, Ryan Rumba is joining us live from Jefferson City with doctors that can work to improve our sleep. Ryan?
Good morning, Dick and Megan. Well, yeah, I think it's a little different for us morning show people. We don't get as much sleep as we should. So I'm here this morning at the St. Mary's Sleep Center in Jefferson City. And I'm here this morning with Kendra. Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
We're hanging out in bed this morning.
We are, and we're actually awake, too.
Yes. Monday morning, we just had daylight savings time. You guys see people here all the time that have sleep issues. Now, tell me a little bit about St. Mary's Sleep Center and what you guys do.
Well, here at St. Mary's, we are an 8-bed facility where we do both diagnostic and treatment of various sleep disorders.
Okay.
Probably a wide variety, so we can diagnose things like periodic limb movement disorder, narcolepsy, but probably the most common sleep disorder that we see here is sleep apnea.
Okay, and we were talking before, you know, you can't just come in and decide, hey, I want to spend the night and test me. You kind of have to see a doctor. You have to be prescribed to come here.
Yes, absolutely. So there's a couple different ways that you can get a referral to the sleep center, and the first could either be by your primary care physician or your family doctor who suspects perhaps that you may have a sleeping disorder.
Okay.
And the other way is to really go through a sleep specialist. Dr. Krishna Metu is our medical director here, and he has an office over at Jefferson City Medical Group, and he specializes primarily and solely in sleep disorders, and so he's really able to kind of determine whether a sleep study is appropriate or whether it can have diagnosis and treatment outside of the sleep center. And then he would refer a patient here if it was necessary for them to have a sleep study.
Okay, so say I'm a new patient and I come in. I mean, this room is great. This is like a hotel.
Yes.
This is,
that's very purposeful.
Yes, I come in, and what happens? What comes
often what we try to do is we try to arrange patients to come on a night that is convenient for them at around their normal sleep time. So if you normally go to bed around 9 o'clock, we may ask you to come like at an 8 p.m. time frame. And so you would come in and be hooked up to a variety of different leads. We monitor the brain waves, we monitor eye movements, EKG, heart leads, oxygen levels, leg movements, your breathing. And so once you're hooked up to those monitors, then we put you to bed. We tuck you in.
Nice and cozy in here.
Yes. And really the purpose of this sort of environment is to make people feel at home and comfortable in and try to mimic their home environment as much as possible. And then really we collect several pages, 1,000 pages of data through the nighttime with all the different parameters that we've placed on a patient. And then we are able to make a pretty comprehensive diagnosis oftentimes. And so the next morning you would get up and we get you out of here, and then after that there's a scoring technician that reviews page by page all of the sleep, and then that's followed by Dr. Metu, who then does a final interpretation of the recording.
That's really interesting. A lot of people don't think, you think you're just tired, or, you think you're, stressed, but it might be a sleeping disorder.
That is true. Actually, sleep disorders plague many people, millions of people actually, and it could be something just as simple as I don't get enough sleep. I don't get adequate sleep. Often, our busy lives lead us to think, oh, sleep's not important, when in reality it can cause a lot of consequences. And so it could first simply that I just don't get enough sleep.
Right.
We have shift workers, anchor people don't get a lot of sleep. But then the other part of that is you can truly have an underlying sleep disorder, and is often characterized by daytime sleepiness. But often people don't really describe it as daytime sleepiness. They may describe it as, well, I have no energy, or no, I'm fatigued, I have no get up and go, I'm just kind of just feeling blah. And often when you start to dig into that and ask a few more questions, you can kind of get, it leads you to another conclusion.
Right. Well, when we come back, we're going to maybe hook me up to some of these machines, see how this stuff works, and then later on we're going to take a look at some test results. But for now, we will send it back to you, Dick and Megan.
I'm sorry, I was sleeping. What did you say? No.
Wake up.
Coming up, just... According to a poll by the National Sleep Foundation, effects of sleep loss on work performance can be costing U.S. employers some $18 billion in lost productivity.
Ryan Rumba is joining us live from Jefferson City with doctors who can help improve our sleep. Good morning, Ryan.
Good morning, guys. Yes, we're talking about sleep deprivation, all those kinds of things. We're at the St. Mary's Sleep Center in Jefferson City. I'm here this morning with Sarah. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm living the dream right now. I get to lay down and work at the same time. So not a bad gig this morning. Tell me a little bit about what you guys do here at St. Mary's.
Well, the Sleep Center is an 8-bed sleep facility that we diagnose sleeping disorders. So one of the most common sleeping disorder is obstructive sleep apnea, but also diagnose narcolepsy, restless leg syndrome, in people of all ages. So actually from pediatrics of age 4 all the way up to adults.
That's interesting. So you've got kids that come in here and do this too. And we were talking a little bit earlier about sleep apnea. That's actually really scary to think about.
Very much
Describe
so.
to our viewers at home what sleep apnea really is.
Sleep apnea or obstructive sleep breathing is where basically your brain is telling your body to breathe, but because of the mechanics in your airway, it actually blocks off and doesn't allow air to go to your body, depriving your brain of oxygen. So some of the characteristics that people will complain about or symptoms are snoring. You wake up, you don't feel rested, you're tired, fatigued, kind of some moodiness. And just overall just not feeling good, feeling blah, just don't have any spark to do anything.
Man, it's scary. You stop breathing while you're sleeping. That's not good to, not good to think about. So show me some of the stuff that you guys use here when somebody comes in to be tested or treated.
Well, when you do come in to get tested, one of the first things that they're going to do is they're going to actually put leads on your head that monitor your brain waves. So we're interested in seeing your brain waves so that we can tell which stage of sleep you're in. There's many different stages, and we want to make sure that you cycle through all the stages of sleep, especially get into REM sleep, which is your dream sleep. We also have a snoring microphone that goes kind of on your neck so that we can actually hear and see how much you are snoring. There is a cannula. This is similar to, a lot of people are familiar with an oxygen cannula if you ever go to the hospital, but this measures airflow so that we can see, are you actually breathing or getting any airflow into your lungs? People with obstructive breathing actually won't, so we'll see a flat line on the computer screen. And then we have 2 belts. One's going to go on the chest area, one's going to go on the abdomen. And we're going to watch for both chest wall rise and your abdomen. So people with obstructive breathing, their belly is going to be breathing or moving. Their chest will not be, because we're not getting any airflow in, because again it is blocked off here. So you're going to see a patient with paradoxical breathing, and so that's often another true tell sign. We have limb leads that are going to go on both the arms and the legs. As I mentioned before, restless leg syndrome is also very common, and so people, without even knowing in their sleep, they're moving their limbs and moving all over the bed, and so this is going to monitor that. This is a pulse oximeter, so we're going to put it on the finger. It's going to measure the oxygen. And then everything gets hooked into this computerized head box to allow us to see. The technician is actually going to be watching the patient sleep from a nearby room. There's also a camera in the room, so we're watching everything that you do, as well as the computer screen with all the monitoring.
Wow, so a lot of stuff goes into this, and you're pretty strapped up, and you said you kind of keep it to where people can move around.
We do. You know, it looks like a lot of equipment here, but we can keep it kind of housed in the center of you and kind of to the back, but everybody's allowed, and you can sleep in all positions. So if you're used to sleeping on your belly, on your back, on your side, it doesn't matter. We try to really mimic what you do at home.
Okay, well, when we come back, we're going to take a look at some of those results and see, you know, what other patients, not me, but other patients have tested out here at the Sleep Center. But for now, we'll send it back to you in the studio.
Okay, thanks, Zach. Well, 1/4 of adults in the United States say their sleep problems have some impact on their daily lives.
Ryan Rumbaugh joins us live from Jefferson City with a group of doctors dedicated to helping you sleep better.
Yes, good morning. Well, I feel like I hit the snooze more than once in the morning. I'm definitely guilty of that. But we're talking about how to get better sleep and how sleep can affect your everyday life. I'm here this morning at the St. Mary's Sleep Center in Jefferson City. I'm here this morning with Sarah. Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, before I was laying in bed. Now I had to get up. But now we're taking a look at some of the results that you guys end up seeing after these sleep tests. So let's check it out. It's pretty interesting looking. I don't know what it is. But
During the test, we showed how to hook up, but this is the control room. So you have one technician actually watching 2 patients at a time.
So they're up there on that.
Yep, this is the monitor. So the camera is on the patient at all times, and it's we can zoom in and see a pretty good picture of the patient on how they're moving, if they're snoring, and what different things that they have. And then this is actually the computer screen that they will watch all through the night. All the zigzag up at the top is actually the brain lead. So we're looking at several different channels to see what stage of sleep that they're in, making sure again that they filter through all the different stages. This red line is your EKG, so much like you would have in a hospital, looking at your heart rhythm and seeing if you have any arrhythmias. We are looking at your legs and the limb movements. As I mentioned, some people will abnormally move their legs and their arms throughout the night.
So it doesn't look like that person moved too much.
No, not too much, but if they do move, that actually causes arousals and makes people wake up when they're not even aware that they're doing that.
Oh, wow.
And then this is a snore sensor, so you can see right here that the patient is having some mild snores. These next couple lines are actually the belt. So we have a belt on the chest and a belt on the abdomen, and we want to see that those move together like this, and you can see right here where it flatlines and this patient actually stops breathing.
Wow.
And so their belly is still moving, so their brain is telling them to breathe, but there's actually no airflow coming through, and we can see that. And people can stop breathing for 20, 30, 40 seconds at a time for 60, 70 times an hour. So it can be pretty significant.
That's scary to think about.
Yes. And we are looking at the oxygen saturation, because oftentimes, as you would be aware, that when you stop breathing, your oxygen levels go down because you're not getting oxygen. And then if we do apply CPAP, we're going to look at that as well.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, as a manager of the sleep center, you probably know a lot about sleep. What are some tips for our friends at home? You know, maybe they don't feel like they're getting enough sleep.
You know, a lot of people have a very busy lifestyle, so it's really making sure that you get enough sleep. Not everybody needs the same amount of sleep. Some people are fine on 6 hours. Some people need 7, 8 hours of sleep. And so just knowing your body, trying to go to bed at the same time and getting up and keeping a normal routine. So not altering that on your off days like your weekends. And probably electronics are the big thing now, especially even with teenagers and college-age students. You know, we're playing on our cell phones or Kindles or iPads until we go to sleep, and really that light and that stimulation before you go to bed affects your sleep more than that you know. So you should put that away, and when it's time to go to bed, it's time to go to bed, keeping a good routine.
I'm guilty of that, getting into bed and getting ready for bed and getting on Facebook or something right before I go to sleep, so I should stop doing that.
Yes.
Okay. 'Cause sometimes that makes my eyes tired and I feel tired and then I go to sleep, but you said that's not too good for me.
And a lot of times people will even sleep with the TV on, and they say, I can't fall asleep unless I have the TV on, and really you want to minimize distractions in your bedroom.
Okay. Well, you guys have a new sleep center that just opened. Tell me about that.
We are partnering with Audrain Medical Center at this time, so there's 2 additional beds that are providing services at that location, which is in Mexico, Missouri. So we have 8 beds that we service down here, and we do sleep studies Monday through Friday night. And Audrain Medical Center, we do 2 beds at Audrain Medical Center at the hospital, and it's actually Sunday night through Thursday night. So we've expanded those hours and the same great services.
Wonderful. So our friends out in Mexico don't have to drive all the way out here just to go to sleep.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much for having us today. Such valuable information. So interesting. I'm amazed. Awesome. I'm going to have to come in for a test and sleep in these nice beds. But for now, we will send it back to you guys in the studio.